Welcome to the first video about Code Refactor. Through this lecture, I will show you how to refactor some code in the user's HTML page, the code that generates the URLs in the table header and the pagination. As you can see, here in the table header, we have the code that generates the URLs dynamically to include the values for sort, field, sort, order, and keyword here. You see, it is looking very cumbersome and difficult to read and difficult to maintain, you see. And also the code that generates the URLs in the pagination section here, you see the URLs here, you see it is looking very cumbersome. So the purpose of code refactoring is to make the code succinct and more readable, thus the project is easier to maintain. And in this video I will show you how to use time-lived fragments to refactor the code. And at the end, we will code an additional improvement, that is to show only the affected user after creating and updating a user using the filter function. Alright, so we are going to refactor the code that generates the URLs, the hyperlink for the table header, for columns in the table header. As you can see, the column user ID and the column email here. You can see the code is very similar. The only difference is the field name, here, and the label text for the column here, you see, and the rest of the code is the same. So we can reuse, create a fragment to reuse the similar code and parameterize the variables. Okay, so we create a new HTML page under the templates directory here. Create a new as a HTML. Next, and name the file as fragments. And next, and we use HTML5. Finished. Okay, this is just a HTML page that contains the reusable code from time-lived. Copy the XML namespace for time-lived. Okay, and in the body we write a reusable code for a link for a table header here. So we can copy this code. Before that, we need to create we just paste the code here. Don't worry if it shows a warning here, and we specify a name for this fragment using the th colon fragment, and then the fragment name is column link. And we need to parameterize two variables, which are the field name and the text here, the label of the column. So here the first parameter is field name, and the second one is the column label. Here, and we replace the fixed value ID here by a variable field name here, field name here. And for this to a tag, the only difference is a condition, if condition here. So we can move the condition, delete the condition here, and keep only one a tag. Okay, you can see the only difference in the sort direction. In case the sort field is not the field name here, the sort direction is the value of sort here. Otherwise, it is a reverse sort here. Okay, so we can delete this and update this code for the sort order here. we check if sort field is not this field name, then we return sort order is sort there. Otherwise it is the reverse sort order, reverse sort there. Okay, and for this label, column label, we replace by the value of the parameter column label here. Okay, and we'll also need to replace the fixed value ID here by the variable field name. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, and then in the user listing page, we can use this fragment like this. Here we replace the code for the first column header user ID here by a fragment. So we'll refer to the fragment like this, th and th colon replace, and point to the fragment file name, which is fragments and 2 colons, and then the name of the fragment here, column underscore link here, and pass the values of 2 variable, field name and column label. Here field name is ID and column label is user ID. That's it. And now we can refresh the user listing page. Refresh. Okay, now view the page source to make sure that it has changed. Scroll down to the first column. Here you can see the code for the first header column user ID. Here you see it is not well indented like the other columns here. That means the fragment is used, and you can see. Okay, now let's try to click the user ID column, and it should sort the user list by user ID. Okay, in ascending order and in descending order. Perfect. So you can see the code in the user listing page in the table header is now looking very succinct, right? And we can apply the same for other clickable columns in the table header. The next column is for the email field here, so we can replace here and just change the field name is email and column label is email, and refresh. Okay, view the page source to make sure that the code is updated here in the second header. Here you see, don't worry about this. Okay, and click email. It sorts the user list by email in ascending order and descending order. Perfect. So we can apply the same for other columns. For the column first name, the field name is first name, label is first name, and last name. So you see, using time-lived fragment, using reusable code, the code here is very succinct, very compact. And the next column is last name, and the label is last name. You see the fragment code here. We parameterize 2 variables, field name and column label here, and we do the same for the last clickable column, sortable column, which is enabled here. Field name is enabled and label is enabled here. Okay, that's it. And refresh and view page source Okay, and you see all the column headers updated here using time fragment. Click last name. You see it sorts last name in ascending order, and click first name. It sort first name, sort the user list by first name in a descending order. Click again. It changes the sort direction, and enable. Perfect. Now it's time for an exercise. Write similar code for refactoring the code of a task in the pagination section using time fragments. And this is my solution. I create a fragment for the a tag here and parameterize two variables, which are base number and the label of the button here, and we replace the base number here and replace the label for the paging button here. And this is code in the pagination. After updated here, you see for the first button, previous button, we pass the page number and button label here. Current page -1 is the previous page, and the page number variables, the value of the count I number here, and the next button and last button. Now we come to code an additional improvement for the user management module. That is to show only the affected user after saving details of a user using a filter function. Let me explain to you why we need to code that improvement. For example, I'm on the user listing page and I go to the third page here and I edit the details of the user Jack Bruce here. For example, I change the roles from editor and shipper to editor and assistant, and click save. And naturally, it should show the updated user Jack Bruce here, but after the user has been saved, it shows the first page. So in terms of usability, it is not convenient for the users. So that's why we need to update the code to show the only affected user after the details has been updated. In the third page, the user Jack Bruce here, and you can see the roles has changed to editor and assistant here. Go back to the project, open the user controller class. In the save handler method, you can see after persisting the user details here, user service not save here, it redirects to the user listing page here. And because we have the filter functionality already implemented, we can modify the direct URL here to show only the affected user. So we can change the URL here to /user/page1 and specify some parameters, sort field ID and sort there sending. And the keyword is to filter out the user listing to show only the affected user. Keyword is the first part of the email of the affected user. First part of email equal user get email, and split using the delimiter is the @ and the first part here, and we plus the first part of email in the direct URL here. Okay, that's it. Save the change and we are ready to test. Okay, let me go to the fourth page here, and I want to change the roles of user Mike gets here. So I click edit and I choose the roles salesperson and editor and uncheck assistant and click save. And after the user details has been updated, it should show this user Mike gets in the user listing page. Click save, and you see the user has been saved successfully, and in the listing it shows only the affected user, who is my guest here. And you can see the keyword in the filter text box, my guest, which is the first part of the email here. Perfect, right? So I think this small improvement will enhance the usability of the application. Okay, and to make the code more readable, we can refactor this code extract to create a new, more readable, more meaningful method name. So refactor extract method here, and the method name is get the direct URL to affected user with parameter is the user object. Click OK, and now you can see is a return statement in the save user handler method here, and you can see the method gives a meaningful name for the code. And test again, clear the filter, and now I go to the last page and I want to edit the details of the user Pedro Quintero here. For example, I enable this user and change email to pedro.quintero.2000 here, and click save, and you can see the only user Pedro Quintero is display in the listing page, and the message is the user has been saved successfully. You can see the text in the filter here, which is the first part of the email here. So I think this we improve, we enhance the usability of the application.